Guys, today is Monday and we gotta kick it in the butt. How we're gonna do that? Well, we're gonna start off with a big heavy dose of world news. So a lot of stuff happening, a lot of stuff I've been neglecting. I've been making a lot of fun Mexico videos and doing all that good stuff, so it's time to get back to it. We can't forget about our brothers in France and all over Europe. We can't forget about what's happening in Venezuela and all over Latin America. We can't forget what's happening in Asia, Russia, Africa, Middle East, so on and so forth. Oh yeah, that's right, and Antarctica. Speaking of which, I need to get my shirt on. It's getting cold. It's not cold. Alright, see you in a few seconds. Hey guys, and welcome back. Today is Monday, March 11th, 2019. And yeah, just like you saw a few seconds ago, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Well, today we're just going to be talking about the news and world events and so on and so forth. Why? Because again, all this stuff is all related together. Okay, it really is. It just is. Okay, in order for mass adoption of cryptocurrencies to happen, all these other things need to happen for there to be a reason as to why people need to adopt it. Besides, on top of that, there's just a lot of things going on around the world, some in which are, again, directly correlated to cryptocurrency, and other things that are not, but they're all interrelated with all of us, one way or another. And there's just been so much stuff going on that, as you guys have realized, as you guys have noticed, I've been making a lot of different content. I've been making regular vlogs. I've been showing you Mexico even more, you know, making those Mexico videos, making funnier videos, talking about other things and so on and so forth. But a lot of times I like to talk about news, world events, and what's really going on. I usually just dedicate a full episode to these things, but it's been a while. I haven't talked about a lot of these things, and I was just seeing if I could lump everything together. It's Sunday afternoon. I just got home and I realized I didn't film today's the episode you're watching now. So yeah, I'm affected by the time change too, even though the time hasn't changed here. It doesn't change till April. All right, anyways, without further ado, let's see what the horse wrote here for me. He's the producer. All right, so let's talk about the Yellow Vest. Yellow Vest, week 17. Week 17. What is the Yellow Vest? It's just the protests that are happening in France. They're continuing. It's week 17. That's how many months? That's like 4 months already? 5? It's like how divided by 4? Yeah, so yeah, 4.5-ish. So that's happening. And what are these protests about? Well, I don't know what you guys listen to, what kind of media you listen to, whether you listen to mainstream media or you listen to a lot of YouTube videos, but the reality is that the people have had enough of the corrupt government, have had enough of everything that's going on. You know, the slave mentality. People are still a little more educated in Europe, so you know, and people have a few more things to rely on, you know, like universal health care and other things that we don't have in the US. So when people went out to, you know, go out to protest, even if they lose their job, even if certain things happen, they still have other needs met, so they can continue doing these things. So that's what we're watching there. So, you know, let me just interject there real quick. I'm going to be talking about all this stuff, I promise. But what I'm starting to really see, and I've mentioned this many times before on various episodes, talking about the financial collapse, the dollar collapse, you know, so on and so forth. But as time is going on, I really do see the dollar staying strong for a while. And I just see Europe and the euro falling. There's just so much turmoil happening in Europe right now, besides what's happening in France. Let's also take a look at what's happening in Catalonia, Spain. Let's take a look at what's happening in Italy, in Germany. Today I was just reading Algeria, you name it. Just about all of Europe is in turmoil, and or England. in one form or another, and all of them for different reasons. You know, some of them, you know, the citizens want their sovereignty. Some of them, you know, there's too much immigration coming from, you know, the mess that the U.S. has left out there. But, you know, regardless, you know what I mean? Like, some are financial, but regardless, you know, the people are all getting to the streets and they're all educating themselves on everything that's going on. So, you know, as these protests increase throughout Europe, everyone is educating themselves on everything because they're all out there educating themselves, and thus creating the environment for major change and revolution and so on and so forth. Now, that is happening over there. What's happening, let's just go to China real quick. Let's just cover the whole world, okay? Might as well. We're already at it. What's going on in Africa, again, you know, things right now are only, it seems to be kind of getting worse before they're getting any better. There's a lot of currency situations out there, a lot of currency crisis in Africa and a lot of countries, and no one's really talking about it. And the dollar is a major component, central banks are a major component, so this is why, again, you know, Africa has always been a main hub for cryptocurrency growth. We're going to leave Africa for now because I honestly didn't do any research on Africa. It's not written down here. But we're just covering the world. But yes, you know, more financial turmoil happening all over Africa. And yes, cryptocurrency is playing a part of the savior in that part of the world. Now, let's move towards Asia. We already talked about Europe and what's happening there. What's happening in the Middle East. Again, you know, the massacre, the genocide that's happening right now in Yemen. Okay, the U.S. is directly correlated to that. You know what they're doing there with Saudi Arabia and Yemen. Look at what happened with the congresswoman or whatever that's in the U.S. that she, Ilan Umam or whatever her name is, but she's making a lot of headlines because she was talking about, you know, what's happening in Israel versus the, I can't believe I'm fucking spacing over the Muslims, I can't believe I'm spacing out. I apologize for spacing out. I'll remember in a little bit as I go on with the episode. But what's happening there and the massacre that's also happening there, and she called that out, and she called out that genocide as well. You know what Israel's doing, how the U.S. is supporting Israel. Just by making this video, I'm probably going to get in trouble or demonetized or what have you because of all the topics I'm talking about. Hence, kind of like why I'm grouping them all together as well. So, you know, with all that happening, you know what I mean, in that part of the world, and the U.S. is supporting all that, you know, the Middle East is not looking good, and so on and so forth. So, look at what's happening in Iran and other parts there, you know what I mean, as they're getting more sanctions and the U.S. is clamping down even harder on them, you know, they're using cryptocurrency as a ways to try to conduct business and get around the dollar and get around these sanctions. Now, let's go on to China. China's going through a financial crisis. Not a Great Depression, but just, you know, an economic crisis, you know, like a downturn, an economic correction. When looking at the numbers, it's not as bad as it seems. It's just a correction. It's nothing in comparison to what other countries are going through. So that's happening. Let's move on to the next country. India, Pakistan. India and Pakistan, mortal enemies for the longest time. Rivals, better said. Have you guys ever heard of Kashmir? You know, the Led Zeppelin song, but Kashmir, you know, there's a cloth. Anyways, there's an area between India and Pakistan called Kashmir, and these two countries have been fighting over that for a very long time. And things got very heated last week, in which both countries almost went to war. Now, why is this important? And why is this a situation we gotta, you know, keep our eyes on? Well, very simply put, India and Pakistan have like 7 billion nuclear missiles pointed at each other. So India has a bunch of nuclear missiles pointed at Pakistan. Pakistan has a bunch of nuclear missiles pointed at India. And if all of a sudden they start going a little crazy and they start nuking each other, that's going to affect everyone around the world, period, in the story. So that's what we got to keep an eye on there. That could be World War III and the end of the world all at the same time. Like that. And they're all fucking fighting over curry. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Anyways. I love all my Indian friends. I love all my people from out there, all right? Just fucking around. You know, I know you guys all laugh. By the way, congratulations to T-Series. I think PewDiePie might still somehow defeat you guys. I don't know why. I mean, it is the whole world versus India. I know it's billions of people, but I was watching some, I don't want to get sidetracked, but I was watching a video of people in India getting interviewed about the T-Series PewDiePie thing, and it was really interesting. It was actually split 50-50 in India, so that was pretty fun. All right, moving on. So, okay, Russia. What's happening with Russia? Listen, all of a sudden, when Trump got elected, everything was buddy-buddy with Putin, but as more things are happening and moving along throughout time, it doesn't seem like Russia is being very friendly with the U.S. And all this makes sense is because the U.S. is really clamping down on global takeover. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to, another story for another day. And so Russia is realizing that Trump wasn't who he thought he was either. And just like a lot of us are realizing that Trump is now part of the agenda, has been part of the agenda, Putin is also realizing these things. And it's not looking good over there. And, right now, Putin and China, but mainly Putin, is in Venezuela and in Latin America right now, protecting their assets and protecting the country of Venezuela against U.S. invasion. And the U.S. and the UN are right now, as we speak, putting even more missiles pointed at Russia. Okay, so there's a whole mess, going on around the world that most of us are not even aware of. Okay, I'm only a few minutes into this episode, and yeah, I think we've covered a lot, and there's so much to cover. I haven't even mentioned anything. This is more like a refresher of where we're at right now today, Monday, March 11th, 2019. Anyways, okay, moving on. Okay, we're going through South Asia. All right, South Asia, every day, more and more. Most of South Asia, I'm talking about the Philippines, Thailand, whatever, all that shit, down there. They're all getting closer to China and moving away from the U.S. The U.S. has most of its navy out in that part of the world, not in the waters of the Pacific Ocean by the U.S. or in the waters in the Caribbean by Venezuela, which you would think most of our navy should be around Venezuela, but they're not. They're actually in the South China Sea. I wonder why. Go figure. You figure that one out. Anyways, so that's all happening there. All right. Japan is starting to go through their financial crisis, and so on and so forth. All right, but let's just keep on. I just didn't want to leave them out. Sorry. Now we're coming back. Let's start with Canada. Canada's going through their own crisis. Whether it's a Quadriga CX or whatever the fuck, the crypto exchange that got hacked, or whether it's all the I don't want to say it, but the feminism, all that left liberal craziness that's happening within your own government, that's happening within your own country. You guys are losing freedom of speech. Not that you had it, but you know what I'm saying. And shit's going down, and it's not looking good. So I cleared from Canada, and I came out here to Mexico. So yeah, that's not good. Okay, now let's move out to the U.S. Okay, here we go. The U.S. I mean, again, there's people that literally have channels dedicated to this. So I'm gonna just move on to through the basic important stuff. All right, hold on. Sorry, I was just fixing the light here. So what was I saying? Okay, so the U.S. So yeah, each and every day you're watching more and more police officers getting very crazy. Whether they're just busting into people's hospital room. I saw a video the other day of some guy dying of cancer. Like, this guy was like frail, like days from death, and they broke into his hospital room because they thought he had marijuana in there. And I could go on and on about all the stuff that's happening there. Now, main reason why, everything from like, now, what's happening with, let me not sidetrack too much, but look, one of the main reasons why I don't think the dollar is going to fall, and I don't think anything's going to happen, and the U.S. is going to be, first of all, we all know that the U.S. and the dollar is going to be the last piece to fall. But the reason I think it's going to take a lot longer than we think is just because, look, at the end of the day, in order for things to change, like that, in order for things to change like that, people need to go to the streets and put on their yellow vests and start the real revolution. Again, look at France. There's 17 weeks of non-stop protest and still nothing's changed. So the US has to go through something like that, okay? And it's not gonna happen. People are lazy. They're fucking eating their Cheetos. They have, 13 jobs. You know what I mean? That if they miss one day of work, they literally are homeless on the street with their kids. So it's the way that the U.S. society has been created is not allowed for, even if the people want to go out and protest, to allow them to go protest for more than a day or a few hours. So I mean, that's why, you know what I mean? By the time that the protests start coming to the U.S., it's already Nazi Germany. You know, again, that's why we need the Second Amendment. So good luck to everybody out there. But again, by the time that happens, it's going to be a while. It's not going to be next year, the year after that. It's probably going to be many years, 5 years, 10 years, before all hell breaks loose, all right? Maybe it could be tomorrow, but I doubt it. Just being realistic. But again, as we're looking at what's happening in the U.S. is literally now at this moment in time. Remember, the U.S. is owned by the central banks, okay? The U.S. is literally the military arm of the central banks. So the central banks, aka the U.S., is now literally going on their world tour rampage, meaning just like many empires at one point, or many others at one point have tried, whether it was Hitler or Napoleon or whoever, or Julius Caesar, Genghis Khan, and I can go on. I'm just naming names that we all recognize. But there's always been a point in human history where there's some sort of empire, group of people, what have you, that decide that, hey, we're going to just start taking over the world. And right now, I think that we're, threading a very thin line, and I don't think it's happening. But if all of a sudden the U.S. invades Venezuela, then I think that we have already crossed that line, and we are in, empire building mode, a la Hitler, a la Napoleon type shit. You know what I mean? Not the good kind, and we could see it, we have. We have power all over the world, and even if we lose a little power here or there, we're just. The U.S. is just trying to push and keep that power going and keep that, that foot on the people's throat, and go with no mercy and continue on. So now let's skip over the U.S. because there's a million things I could talk about the U.S. and all the things that are happening in the U.S. You guys already know. You guys literally watch other videos talking about all the things that are happening out there. And again, we could talk about that in other episodes. But let's just move directly south and go towards Venezuela, which is one of the main topics I wanted to cover, and one of the main one of the main inflection points in which the U.S. is trying to invade it right now at this moment. I don't know if you guys are aware, but on Thursday at 4:30 p.m. there, 4:30 p.m. Venezuela time, Caracas time, there was a massive power outage throughout all of Venezuela, all of Caracas and all of Venezuela, but I think it's all of Caracas. As of today, the power outage is still going on. And I'm talking about widespread power outage, meaning there's no power anywhere, period. No power at the airports, no power at the hospital, no power anywhere. Okay? And no matter how shitty and awful and crappy the infrastructure might be, which we already know it's not, and I've already listened to stories of Venezuelans on the ground talking about, the shitty infrastructure and so on and so forth, and that we get it, but there's still no reason or excuse for what's going on right now, because even as a Venezuelan, they understand that no matter how bad whatever the fuck could have been, there's no reason for it to be Sunday afternoon and there's still no power. Or now is when they're starting to get power in little bits and pieces throughout Venezuela. It's pretty crazy. That's the U.S. that's the next move that they're pulling now. They're literally knocking out power throughout all of Venezuela. So remember, if there's no power, there's no internet, there's no nothing. There's absolutely zero nothing. So, we can't get any information from down on the ground, and they can't send us information, and vice versa, the whole thing. We can't send information, we can't gather information. If there's reporters, if there's people down there, like the gray zone, like the people that I watch, one of the people that I watch, was recording everything from her phone. She's a Venezuelan that's just there telling exactly how it is. She's not on Maduro's side, but she's not on Guaido's side either. She's just a citizen, a very concerned citizen that loves her country very much, just like others out there. But look, the point I'm making is that, the U.S. is now killing babies, literally killing babies. I think like 17 dead babies in one hospital, children, many other deaths, you know, in hospitals and throughout, just because of there not being any power. Now, of course, someone like you, me, most of us can survive, but when you're talking about someone in a hospital that needs, you know, these machines, or a baby that's in intensive care or what have you, yeah, you know, and then generators can only do so much, and so on and so forth. So, you know, that's now what the U.S. is doing. Everything is unraveling, you know, within that situation there. The whole world knows that everything is a lie as to what's happening in Venezuela, and that the U.S. is trying to invade. All the, you know, when you hear, oh, 28 countries or whatever are backing the U.S., you got to remember who these countries are. All these countries are in the pocket of the U.S. And again, 28 countries, but how many countries are there in the world, guys? It's like 198, 200, something like that, and what, only 28? Really? Come on now. What about all the other countries? Yeah, exactly. You know, no one asked them. Oh, wait, they did ask them. Oh, yeah, but were they sided with Venezuela? Anyways, so, you know, a good majority of the world is not on the side of what's happening right now at the moment there. And this is why, and why we're watching this is very important, because, you know, right now what's happening is that if the U.S. really does cause an invasion of Venezuela and starts invading other countries like really hardcore, they cause some sort of World War III, which again, you can see the agenda's trying to do. Going back to India and Pakistan. India and Pakistan were literally about to start a nuclear war until they started investigating, you know, the planes that were crashed, you know, the F-16 that crashed with a missile and this and that, and they all found out that the U.S. was behind that. So they backed the fuck off and said, you know what, the U.S. is behind this shit. Hey, Pakistan, India guy, you know, you guys want to fight? No, we don't want to fight. You know, just saying, you know, an India guy and a Pakistani guy, you know, shaking hands, because at the end of the day, neither one of them wants to die, you know what I mean? But if they got to fight to the death because they got to protect their family, they understand, you know, if one of them is trying to invade the other, but no one's trying to invade anyone. So, and then once they realized it was the U.S., they were like, okay, fucking U.S., you know, there they go again. And that's happening all over the world. Some places are smarter than others. Some places, you know, they all react very differently. But, you know, all I'm saying is that the dominoes are falling. And even though America and the dollar might not fall anytime soon, all the major steps are happening right now. Okay? Countries like, let's say, Argentina, which is run by the central banks, are also pushing away. Mexico is pushing away. Mexico's, everyone is in one form or another, and they're all finding solidarity within each other. And the U.S. is spread out so thin. The central bankers which run the U.S. are doing insane things, like trying to invade Venezuela, you know, trying to, you know, cause wars and situations like in Haiti and this and that. And they're just doing so much all around the world, and even within the U.S. with all the false flags and so on and so forth, that everything is crazy sloppy. We all see all these. It's like we don't even. There's like no such. You know, now when it's just like all the evidence is out there, where it's like you got to be a complete moron not to really know what's going on. But again, there's a lot of Cheeto eating people out there that, you know, stick idiocracy scene here. So again, guys, there's a lot of shit going on. I could, you know, talk about this all day. I tend to talk more about these things on my live stream because I get to have more freedom and interact with you guys, and you guys get to ask questions, and it goes a little further. But I just wanted to make today's episode literally about world news because there's just so much going on, so much I didn't even get to cover, and I think that it's important, no matter where you are in the world, you know, to know these things. But I know most of my viewers are in the U.S. and they might not know a lot of this stuff, you know, and at least not from my perspective. And I would love to continue this conversation. I would love to be for you guys to ask more questions. And if you guys want me to make any kind of videos, please, you know, just leave comments down there. Let me know, and we can go through it. Sorry about that. Those are tacos I ate earlier. So please, let's continue this conversation going. Let's continue more conversations going. Again, this channel, just to give a quick reminder to all you new viewers out there, you know, we talk about everything here. You know, we talk about world news, we talk about cryptocurrency, we talk about moving into Mexico or moving to another country, we talk about life, we talk about happiness, we talk about motivation, we talk about business, we talk about a million things, you know, film, photography, you name it. Why? Because these are all the things that I love. I love making videos, I love my community, I love hanging out with you guys, and this is my way of scratching my itch and at the same time being able to give back to all of you guys, because you guys all find value in everything that I do. So that helps me wake up in the morning, believe it or not, to be able to do these things for you and do it together and so on and so forth. So I think that, I don't know, I think Wednesday, I'm going to see, just depending on what's happening in the crypto space. On Wednesday, I think, and if not Wednesday, maybe another time this week. We'll figure it out. But I really do think that I'm going to start doing a live stream just talking about Mexico. So having a live stream talking about you know, current events, cryptocurrency, everything like that, everything that we do on Wednesday, we're probably going to keep that. And then probably doing another live stream once a week talking about Mexico. Why not? I mean, I think that, you know, there's a lot of you guys out there that just watch me for Mexico videos. You guys are probably not even watching this far into this video. But if you are, I'm going to announce it, you know, a few more times throughout the week, and I'm going to put a vote out on my channel, and we're going to go from there. But I think that I'm going to do a Mexico live stream and see if I can, and you know, try to answer the questions to the best of my ability, because there's a lot to talk about, a lot of questions to answer. I don't have all the answers. I've only been out here a little time, like 8, 9 months. But you know, the point I'm making is that I do know a lot, and my perspective is a little different than what other channels talking about Mexico or living in Mexico are. So I think that that would be a very great benefit, because there's a lot of you guys that are even in my crypto space that are, you know, even now, you know, the shit's going down and you guys are seeing it and feeling it, and then you guys are asking me questions. So this is very beneficial to everybody, and I'm doing it for you guys. I'm doing it for all of us, all right? So all right, let's keep that going. All right, well, I'm gonna end this episode. I know it's very long-winded. I'm not gonna, well, it's already the end of the episode. You guys already figured out. I didn't edit it. I'm just going to upload it. And that's it, guys. I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. I want to give a shout out to all my patrons. Shout out to all my contributors. Shout out to everyone in my Discord. Shout out to every one of you guys. I love you guys all to death. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to please like, please subscribe, please share, please hit that bell icon. I'll see you guys mañana. Peace out, guys. Thanks again for watching.
We will make America metal again. Wake up, wake up.
They're watching work, little makeup. I just want to take away the shit. While you're leaving keys on the table. Here you go, create another sample. You want to do grammar, watching work, little makeup. You want to do I just want to take away the shit. You want to do while you're leaving keys on the table. You want to do, and I don't think you trust in my self-righteous say I cried when angels deserve to die.
Wake up, wake up.